have been here with Streamline going on 4 years now, which is kind of crazy to me. I actually started on the customer service side, and I've now more recently moved into my sales consulting role. But since being here, I've had the opportunity to connect with over 700 property managers, like all across the state, which is really, really cool. And what I've learned and what I'm hoping to bring into our webinar here is that operations state to state, city by city, and shoot, even like neighbor to neighbor are just so wildly different. I'm hoping that with that experience, we can highlight some of the most like underutilized features that everyone across the board will be able to use. And Kaylin, I'll kick it off to you.
Thank you, Emily. Yes, I'm Kaylin Wilkerson. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm a software consultant at Streamline. And as Emily said, we're so excited to be here today to show you some of what we feel are some of the most underutilized features inside of the platform to help you really maximize your efficiency in your operations. A little bit of background about me: I've been with Inhabit for 3 years and really bring a unique blend of experience from both of our digital marketing side and also our software. So having worked in both sides of the business has given me really a well-rounded perspective on how to increase efficiency in your operations. So our goal today is really to give you valuable strategies to walk away with, whether you are a Streamline user today or you're thinking of moving over to Streamline in the future. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and dive into the agenda. Awesome. So, to give you all a little bit of background about Streamline, for those of you, you may know this, but our roots really have always been to build the platform by property managers for property managers. A lot of the features that we're going to be taking you through today are things that you've requested over the years that really move the needle to drive revenue. To give you an idea of how many variables there are in Streamline, there's over 2,000. So when you think of that as a property manager, there's always room for growth, right? As you're just starting out with the platform and as you grow into the system, there's new features you can turn on, turn off as you start to grow your operations. So what we've decided to do today is to build the content to give every sector of your business a new strategy. So we're going to start out with reservation features inside of our guest CRM. We are going to dive into revenue opportunities. We're going to look at the homeowner acquisition CRM, everyone's favorite accounting features. And then we are going to give you a sneak peek into what is coming soon. So if you're on this webinar today, we've got a awesome content planned for you and excited to dive right in. So we'll kick things off with reservation features, and I'm going to pass it to Emily.
Awesome. And just so everyone knows, today we are not going to be doing like full demos of the system. We're going to be doing an overview of what the feature is, with highlighting that feature at the top so that we could fit as many features as we can into this presentation. You can get the most out of it. So with that said, starting here with period logic. This is one Kaylin and I picked because there's two parts to it. And a lot of our users, they really dig into part one, which is our seasonal fees. But a lot of people have no idea about part two, which is you can also do seasonal documents. And when I say period logic and I say seasonal, I'm not talking like winter, spring, summer. You can do that, but you all know your business is best. So you'll give us a date range. And that is, in our minds, what a season is. So to start, our most popular area of the seasonal fees. I put a few bullets down. I'm going to speak to pool heat. Personally, I lived in Arizona the last 10 years before now moving to Florida this week. So I can tell you that, shoot, June through September, you probably don't need pool heat in Arizona. People still offer it, but you just don't need it. So maybe for the first portion of the year during summer, I say I want $100 for my pool heat. But then coming into winter, we're babies in Arizona. Like, you are going to have people that they want to put pool heat on and they do not care what you are charging them. So in this period logic, what you're able to do is then say, okay, well, that transition kind of starts in October, maybe November. At that point, I want to bump that fee up to 200. You can also say, well, I want to bump unit 1 up to 200, unit 2 up to 150, and you can get pretty granular because you guys all know your inventory best. The second piece of the seasonal fees is doesn't just have to be necessarily amenities that are at the property, but you can offer like these welcome baskets. A lot of folks will do concierge services, masseuse kind of things. So in mine, I had like a sweetheart basket in my fake world here. And what I might say is, okay, well, I have a sweetheart basket, but over Valentine's Day, January into February, I'm going to bump that up 50 bucks. So you have that opportunity in seasonal fees and how it translates to the seasonal documents here. And again, this is the underutilized feature of this section is you can say, well, not just fees, but how about local upcoming events? I personally, I was born and raised Chicago. We go to Summerfest every single summer. So for those that are in Wisconsin surrounding areas, you might want to send just an email to any guests staying with you over the summer or a few months before, trickle in just, hey, guest experience, this is what we have. Obviously, you can push upsells based on season as well, like we talked about. I'll tell you again, Lake Michigan, you have boat rentals in the summer. No one's taking their boat out in December on Lake Michigan. So again, that's why the seasonal documents are so important. Goes into marketing. And this last spot here we have is early check-in, late checkout. We're going to dive into this actually a little bit later into our presentation, but here for seasonal documents, what I want you to start thinking about is operations. At what point is my peak? Can I absolutely never have a check-in versus my lull where I need to maybe make some more revenue here?
So really quick before we move on to add to that, Emily, as she said, is this is an opportunity for you to start driving more revenue, whether that's in peak season or in your off season or even shoulder season. So really identifying those seasons is extremely important. But not only that, where can you find this? You're probably interested is so in the taxes and fees area inside of your platform, if you go into that tax and fee, there's a section that has the period logic. And that is where you can identify your dates that you want to upsell this to your guest. So again, it's a no-brainer. We're all about automation, and this is going to help you automate upsells to guests and also send out the documents inside of your templates.
Perfect. Absolutely. Then the second piece that we have here for our reservation area, I won't get as in depth here, but it's going to be our restrict availability feature. Now, when I talked with property managers, honestly, within 2 years, 3 years, and today, a lot of folks say, well, I go to my tape chart, I know I have a block, and I just manually put it on, and it just shows the maintenance block. Well, it skews your numbers, one, in terms of reporting, and two, it's manual. So the restricted availability feature is a feature built within Streamline that says, I'm going to pick these dates, these units, and I'm going to block them all in one go. Now, a newer feature that I think a lot of folks just don't know about is this rolling blocks area. And Kaylin mentioned we're a property management system built by property managers. This actually was a variable that a property manager submitted to us in ideas, and we built it out, which is super cool. And what was told to us, and basically the reason why there's a need for this is there's a ton more regulations being put out there. In this case, she had an HOA and the actual guest could book any length, but they couldn't book any time. And what I mean by that is if a guest were to book 11 days before their stay, that's okay by the HOA. If they were to book 10, absolutely not, you're going to get fined. So what this does is it says X days before I'm going to have a block. So right now, 10 days before check-in or book-in day, there's a block. Nobody is going to have this open on their calendar. And instead of having to go each day and roll that block, what the system is smart enough to do now is roll that block with you as the calendar goes through the year. So I wanted to make sure we highlighted that feature.
Yeah, and you can get specific on the unit too. So maybe different units or different complexes with different HOA restrictions have a completely different one than the other one. You can get very specific. I love this feature. Again, all about automation. So next thing, Reagan, we're going to dive into is SmartBook, and she's going to play the video here in a minute. But this feature is actually one of my favorite features inside of Streamline. It is a booking engine. Right. And I'll actually allow Reagan to go ahead and play the video so we can see a quick demo. But a lot of you are probably used to using Informative Book or QuickBook. This brings that to the next level. What this allows you to do is there's a few different modes in terms of how you view the properties, which I feel like is super user friendly for your reservations agents. It allows them to really create a guest experience, to customize that experience based on that guest. So you can adjust things like pricing, amenities. What this also allows you to do is to view those properties within that criteria and send a customized quote to that guest, which will dynamically populate on your website. But what's also neat about this is, and we'll go into this in a minute, but if you have a property that maybe there's a group reservation, right? Or maybe that a guest is booking multiple properties with you. This allows you to book multiple properties at the same time. So you can split payments. You can open up the unit from here to take a look at all of the details here. And then I'll say probably my last favorite feature about this is being able to integrate Google Maps into SmartBook. So that's not available in QuickBook and Informative Book, but with SmartBook, there's a show map that's actually on the right-hand side there in this demo where you have the ability to show what's in proximity to that property. So this helps too if maybe some of your reservations agents aren't familiar with the area or they want to take a look and see what's close in proximity to that property. It allows you to take a look at that a little bit more specific.
In the reservation side so far, we've really looked at it from more of an admin perspective. So now we want to show you the guest side. And so within Streamline, you have your standard rental agreement. And then we have a newer feature called Streamline Pro. When I say new, I probably shouldn't say newer. It's been a few years now. But what you're seeing here is us within a guest folio. And Reagan, I'll have you play the video in just a second here. As Reagan plays the video, what you're going to see is any changes that are made within this new Streamline Pro rental agreement automatically make changes to the agreement itself, and it pulls back onto the reservation, which just takes out any sort of manual error in this. Also, it just saves a ton of time. So go ahead and play, Reagan. Thank you. And so what we're seeing here, you make this as pretty as you want. It's the email that goes out. Your guest will click on the email, see their agreement. Very first thing you see here is they have an IP address so that you know who is signing from where, how many places to sign. They'll also you'll have a chance to place your upsells here. So if I swipe my credit card in your site and it's too hot now, what I do is I have a second chance basically to boost my revenue. So here you can see I didn't book my trip insurance on the site, didn't book concierge services, now I have. And each button I pressed, that total went up. The second piece of this is you have the ability to gather more information on your guests and guests that are staying in the unit. So in this case, I booked the reservation, let's say, but I'm doing a girls' trip with Kaylin. You should probably get her information too. What this does is, yes, you put in all the guest information. This automatically pulls back into the reservation. And now you can also have a guest profile for Kaylin to remarket to her. Underneath there, what you're going to notice is there's also a tag, we call it, to pull the guest preferred email. This is traditionally used for Airbnb guests. I think most people on the call here know that last year Airbnb kind of took away that visibility. So now what you're able to do is, yes, they're going to book at first from Airbnb, but then once you remarket to them, they're going to be able to book direct. Again, add as many initials, signatures as you want, like you just saw. And the area we're in now, this is going to be your guest folio. What you were just seeing is I added trip insurance. It showed in that folio. Now I go back and change my mind. It's not there anymore, which is awesome. Again, one less step for you to do.
I was going to say, I think too, Emily, the biggest takeaway from this as well is like capturing more data, like you
100%.
said. Yeah.
Yes. Things that you can do also with this are like, if you know they have a pet coming, hey, what's your pet's name? What breed? What weight? All right, you have maybe more of a strict HOA. You need to see what cars they're bringing. Once everything's signed, though, it's going to be in the folio again. So you can always go back and track the actual attachment for your internal team. You can also, talking about automations, email this directly to the guest. Again, could get lost. So then the third option you have is also just directly associate the signed agreement right into the Happy Stays app, which is our guest app, because they can also see it from there. They don't have to go searching for their emails. And I'm going to pass it over to Kaylin now. So she'll talk a little bit more about the return on investment side. What I will ask, and normally I know you would not ask this on a webinar where you want people to pay attention, but please take your phones out just for this slide. You're going to need them. So I'll ask that in advance.
Yeah. And so, Reagan, you can go to the next slide. We're going to talk a little bit about the return on investment. So, as Emily said, normally wouldn't ask, but take your phones out, scan this QR code. You can go ahead and play the video here too, Reagan. I'm not going to go through and narrate the entire video because it really is customized to how much volume of reservations you're bringing in. So, what you can do is essentially put in the reservations per month that you're taking, right? Put in that manual labor of how long is it taking you, or how many contracts are you sending out manually to guests? How long is it taking you to go into the folio and update that to the reservation, right? And what it's going to do is calculate the total labor hours, and it's going to show you the return on investment. So again, it could look differently for every company. So scan this, enter in your information. But as Emily said, it can really save you a lot of time, and it allows you to drive upsells, and automate that process for your team.
We've got a question from Jean. They're wondering if StreamSign Pro can be emailed to only Airbnb guests.
Absolutely. That's more of a setup and configuration. You can have it so that it just goes to a specific reservation type. Also, hi, Jean.
Hey, Jean. Thanks for the question. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Like Emily said, you can assign things to a specific rest type inside of your system. Yeah, so it also allows you to get more data, right? So you can remarket to those guests. What's cool too is I don't know if a lot of you know, but we didn't add this into the content, but there is a marketing list inside of Streamline that allows you to segment the guest data based on where they booked or what kind of guest traits. And so when you're retargeting, it creates a more meaningful marketing approach.
Love it. I love that report. Cool. Now we're going to dig into, I know we kind of touched on this within our reservation CRM, but we're really going to dive into the revenue opportunities here now.
Awesome. So we're going to talk a little bit about a Stream Share, and Emily's going to talk a little bit about some of the features that we've actually added to Stream Share. But for those of you that aren't familiar with this feature inside of Streamline, it's only built for Streamline users, right? So if you are a Streamline user today, it allows you to start networking with other Streamline users and essentially become an online travel agency, right? So it really does two things. It allows you to grab inventory from another market or even your same market. Why is this important to you? Because for two reasons, really. Let's say you want to get into a new market. You need perceived perception that you have inventory in that market to go after more homeowners. So it allows you, if you're good at marketing and you're good at driving direct bookings, it's a no-brainer. Also, sometimes a lot of your guests, let's say you're in a ski town, right? Maybe they want to visit another ski town, right? You can really start to build those guest traits and figure out where your travelers traveling. Let's offer them an experience for all times of the year. And then I'll say really the second thing of why this is important to you is, let's say you're completely booked out, right? But you're still getting leads into your Streamline system, but they're not going anywhere. So you're essentially losing money at that point. What if you could build a connection with a friendly competitor in your market and send those leads to for a commission? And so it's a no-brainer. You're driving more revenue with this feature. So I'm going to pass it to Emily to talk a little bit about some of the new features that we've added to this module.
When we go back for me one slide, Reagan, real quick. Sorry, but when we first opened up StreamShare, and those of you who have been with us from the beginning have been with us through this. So originally you had to share all of your inventory. You couldn't pick and choose. I want my best performing. I want all my 2 bedrooms to be shared. You can do that now. And again, we won't do a deep dive demo of how, but you're able to essentially select per unit where to show on site. And then Reagan, on that second page, this was highly requested. So we've made it so as a host, you can now use coupons for StreamShare. And what that means is I can't take Kaylin's inventory and just be like, oh, I think it's priced too high, I'm going to discount it. But if a host is willing to let you use a coupon, you have the option to. You do not have to is the other piece of that. So again, it gives you a little bit more autonomy there. And Kaylin, before we move on, I know you're going to know this. How many users do we have on StreamShare now?
Yeah, so we actually have 513
Yes.
active users that are already connecting together inside of the system. So if you go into your system, there actually is an area to connect to StreamShare, and you can see what companies are enrolled and whether they're a host or an agent. And so it's a no-brainer. Go in there, look at the markets. You can push out your inventory, grab more inventory, but yeah, 513, that's impressive.
That's awesome.
Right, Emily?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a client too, and I know he won't mind if I say his name, so I'm going to throw it out there, but Jay-Z Vacation Rentals, huge advocate for StreamShare. He actually speaks at our Streamline Summit pretty much every year, always networking. He's been a huge success for this feature. So if you do want to network with someone that's actively using it, go to
Yeah.
his website, look at his inventory. We're happy to connect you with him.
Absolutely. It's really a way to, instead of thinking of this as like a cutthroat industry, which it can be, but this is truly a way to build each other up, which is really cool.
Yep.
And then as we move forward, we talk about revenue opportunity with your competitors, but there's definitely also revenue opportunity within your own system. So Kaylin, I'll let you talk about Project Innovate and Orphan Night Logic here.
Yeah, this is actually another one of my favorite features that we did. The reason that it is because what is Project Innovate? Project Innovate was where we allowed our clients to tell us what to build. We've always been aggressively focused on innovation and development from the beginning. And so what we asked our clients was, what is a feature that you could essentially drive more revenue? And this was it. It was Orphan Night Logic / availability filler. I'm going to have Reagan go ahead and play the video for this one so you can kind of see how this works inside of your system. There are really 3 key benefits to this feature. What it does is it allows you to fill gaps automatically. So it reduces the vacancy by triggering communication to that guest to extend their stay. So as you can see, we're on the folio here. This was an automated email that got sent out to the guest because we had available night between our next reservation. Now, what's super cool about this too is the convenient booking process for your guest, right? Making things easy for guests is always going to incentivize them to want to stay longer, right? I know if you catch me at the end of my stay, I grew up in Alabama, so we would go to the beach every year. The last day, my mom and I would be so sad we were leaving. If someone offered us this stay at a discounted rate, or even just the easy process with the convenience factor of it, we would have probably extended our stay. So making it easier for your guest. And what's also cool is you can customize based on the length of stay for your coupons, right? So you can offer discounted rates if you want, if they book longer. It's completely up to you and your rules inside of the system. And then I'll say really kind of the last thing benefit for this is just boosting revenue. Encouraging your guests to stay longer will increase your booking value at a minimal effort.
And I don't have a video with mine. It's very similar, but I touched upon this a little bit earlier when we were talking about period logic. And typically, if I say early check-in, late checkout, even if we're just having a generic conversation, right? People are like, I can't do that. There's no way. There's no way during, peak season I'm able to commit basically this to the guest. And so I wanted to share, again, more of a hidden feature, people just don't know about it, is on the unit level. One, you can tell us which units you do want this feature on, that you don't want this feature on. So you can customize it that way. But 2, you can say, well, I want my standard check-in time is 3 p.m. When there's a back-to-back, I only have about an hour leeway. They can do early check-in, but it's 2 p.m. Now, if I have maybe 2 or 3 days in between, I'll open it up all the way to 12. And so same thing with checkout process. If you only want to allow this during certain seasons, those lulls, when you have a little bit more wiggle room, there's still opportunity to add revenue to your bottom line here. So you can use that period logic on the document side to say, I'm only going to trigger this offer when, right, XYZ dates actually come up. The other thing you're able to do is, yes, the guest clicks on the link, just like the Orphan Night logic, it takes them to their Happiest Days app here. They can add this. And what's nice as we talk about automation is the second that an early check-in is turned on, you can set up in the system for that to notify a housekeeper or for it to notify your internal team. And that way you can change, if you need to shift things around without losing that revenue opportunity. Awesome. All right, I think this is our last one in our revenue opportunity builder, but I definitely wanted to make sure that we were sharing this newer feature. This is with the Streamline website as well as Linbro. And what it means is if I'm a guest and I'm going to your website, I have the ability to do digital wallets or mobile wallets. And I think any consumer in any capacity right now is seeing this. You can use Venmo, PayPal, Zelle. For me, I used Apple Pay this morning when I was shopping. So you're absolutely able to use this. You are leaving revenue on the table if you do not have this feature enabled on your website. And the reason that I say that, I should back up a second, is we have the information from Lynbrook that I think it was 74% between millennials and Gen Z customers said that they're more likely to trust a site that they're not super familiar with if they have digital wallets turned on, specifically PayPal. Those two consumer groups, the millennials and Gen Z, they're also the most to travel in any consumer bracket. So it's important. And I wanted to make sure I was sharing that feature with you guys.
Yeah, and really quick too, before we move on, Reagan, I am guilty of this. I don't even bring a card with me anymore. I was telling Emily that as we were building this content, I said I don't leave really the house with a card. It's all on my phone,
Yeah.
right? And so I feel like it's all about looking at ways to convert your guest, and this is going to convert your guest a lot quicker because I'll tell you if a website is making me enter in my information, I might come back to it later and I might not book it then. Right? So it allows you to convert a lot quicker. And if, this is available with your Streamline websites, it's a no-brainer if you don't have it turned on today.
Absolutely. Cool. Now we'll dive into the business development side. And what I mean by that is more so of our homeowner acquisition CRM. So you all saw our guest side of our Streamline documents and our rental agreements. But I think what a lot of folks don't know is you can do the exact same thing with owner contracts with Homeowner Acquisition Pro. I have a quick example of what a contract would look like to an owner. We have templates, but a lot of you folks already have this built out. You can use our templates or build this from scratch within the system to automatically then send out. And Kaylin, I'll let you talk about the CRM itself and what that looks like from a lead management perspective.
Yeah, and Reagan, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. We actually have a quick demo video that we can go ahead and get started. What this allows you to do, I think a lot of you have adopted the Homeowner CRM. We're the only PMS, just like StreamShare, we're the only PMS that actually had dedicated homeowner acquisition CRM meant for you to homeowners, also all in one place. And so what we found is that, a lot of you that have adopted the CRM are still sending contracts outside of Streamline. And so that's why we're really diving into this feature because as you can see, just like a guest, you're able to send those contracts right out of Streamline under the communication tab. You're able to see that contract was sent. And then what's even really cool about this is being able to track the status of that contract. So you're able to come in here and take a look at what has been sent, viewed, and signed. So it allows you to keep track of that, just like any of the other electronic signatures out there today. This allows you to reduce your tech stack even more and also keep all of these attachments and agreements at the unit level, which is so important to you because if you need to access something easily, having everything in one place is extremely valuable for your team. And then we can go, yeah, perfect. So now we're going to go into a little bit of the business development reporting and why this is important to you, what's available to you on the reporting side. And Reagan, you can actually go ahead and play the video. As we dive into the homeowner acquisition CRM and we go over to property leads. So just like your guest CRM, we have the ability to build queues. Queues is your sales process. I love the pipeline mode here because it creates swim lanes for your prospects. It's going to create a profile just like a guest profile, but for an owner. And it allows you to keep track of all of the owner details at the discovery phase, at the rental projection phase, maybe an on-site visit. So your team is able to track that lead during the sales process. What's also super cool about this too, and it's going to show off some of the reporting here, but you're able to see at what stage, what value is that prospect, right? And then it allows you to see, okay, maybe we're bringing on X amount of owners at this time of year. We need to start thinking about staffing up. So that's really why the reporting area is so powerful. Going back to the leads here, a couple other things too I want to mention. On your website, if you have a dedicated landing for rental, what that there's a lot of automation in here. So if, let's say, a guest fills that information, that's going to go into your CRM. And then a lot of you don't know this, but you can actually create a email template and a trigger that says X days after owner lead created. And you can trigger an email to that owner that says, I see you requested a rental projection. Here's some more information, and set up a call. Right. And then also, too, we have the ability to pull rental projections through the platform that's powered through LSI tools, and it allows you to pull comparable properties for that specific unit. So lots of cool stuff in the owner acquisition CRM. It's one of my favorite features of the platform because, you have to always be focused on owner acquisition.
Yeah, one more thing I'll add here before we move on, Reagan, is we touched upon, right, automating based on the lead process. From a marketing perspective, you can also automate and say, well, this lead came into my system X days ago. Here's the marketing information I want sent. Well, maybe after 2, 3 calls, we can't actually get in contact. Well, I still want to have like some warm touch points. So maybe 3 months later, 6 months later, a year later, I have these sequences set to automatically still at least make sure I'm getting in front of the owners again.
Yeah, and one more piece too that I didn't mention is when you win that lead and that owner enters your portfolio, it allows you to take from the business development process to the onboarding team all the data stored at that owner level, right? And so it's a warm pass off and transition from the sales process to onboarding.
Good call.
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite part,
Yeah,
accounting.
and we'll talk a little bit about this. I don't know if this is a underutilized feature. I would be shocked if it was because it's such a powerful tool. What I think, so this is really one of our favorite features from our clients because it saves you a lot of time. A lot of you that are on the call today maybe are used to, going into each Airbnb reservation and reconciling. What Airbnb payments allows you to do is it takes your payment from Airbnb when you get paid out and it auto applies those to the reservation. So it saves you a ton of manual work. So again, I don't know if this is an underutilized feature. It's just something that we hear a lot of clients super excited about. Not a lot of systems have this today. So yeah, one of my favorite features. I'm going to pass it to Emily to talk a little bit more about this too.
And we really chose to highlight in this area the automated pieces that we have within our accounting system. This Airbnb auto payout, say you only have like 20 reservations coming in from Airbnb a month. That's 20 manual payments that you are saving yourself from doing on top of manual errors that could happen as you do that, which throw off your entire accounting month. And obviously you all know leads to some unhappy owners. So just wanted to point that out too. Next one, again, we want to talk about automation here. We have, if you're using Streamline, as well as Lynbrook, who is in the Inhabit ecosystem as well, we have a feature you can enable called auto bank reconciliation. And anyone, you don't have to be an accountant to know this, anyone who's ever tried to reconcile for the month knows that it takes so much time and there is so much manual going back and forth. Okay, here's what I have in the system. Does that match my bank account? What date was it? How much was that for? So every single time that you're trying to process, you have one, again, we talk about that risk of manual error, but two, even if it only takes you 1 minute, every single, undeposited fund that you go through, hours and hours, talk about each month. So what this feature does is Streamline, right, as your property management system, we don't have access to your bank account. Now, Lynbrook is your gateway, does. And again, because they're in that same ecosystem, we're able to build that into our API. So instead of on this left-hand side, you see manually clearing all of your undeposited funds, then creating the bank reconciliation, then clearing those exact same deposits within the bank reconciliation you just did, clearing the expenses, deposits, again, so on and so forth, a lot of manual. What it turns into is Lynbrook's doing number one for you. Lynbrook's doing number three for you, essentially. They're able to say, oh yeah, we saw this, we saw this exact fund go in, it's been deposited, this is the date, this is the amount. Okay, so now you're just creating your bank reconciliation, clearing any expenses, the other deposits that are going through, and then you're processing. And again, that's going to save you hours and hours. Talk about per month, but when you look at it long term, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, I mean, what are you going to do with your time? Like so much time back in your day. So really wanted to make sure that was a feature we highlighted. All right, coming soon. We're very, very excited about this area. So coming soon, you're probably going to start seeing some updates on the unified inbox, which is awesome. Very highly requested. And then we also have a revamped review area. Kayla and I have both really been diving into this. And Kaylin, I'll let you kind of explain, I guess, a little bit of the differences.
It's a reputation management area. So it's going to allow you to manage all of your reviews inside of the system. We're extremely excited about this new feature.
Very clean. Next one, again, obviously very highly requested, or some new connectivity. They've dropped a lot in the last year, which is awesome. And now they're allowing us to build to the API. So we're starting to do that, and you'll see those kind of trickling out throughout the year. We talked about StreamShare a little bit earlier. We're making it even more agent and host friendly. So you're going to be able to play around even more than you can already. I won't say the exact updates, but those should be coming in the next few months.
And really quick too, this isn't on the list, but because I just found out about it, but we are adding some more cancellation policies that are going to be reflecting on the OTAs, which is super exciting as well.
And then the last section here is, again, whether you're a Streamline or a different software, you don't know what you don't know. And I could play catch up on every single one of those 2,000 variables, and then next month more just come down the line. So we really wanted to also make sure we're pointing out the actual resources that you have. We have those quarterly updates as you go onto your home screen. In the bottom right corner, you can click on this quarter is our fairy. Each quarter we do like a different mythical creature. So you click on her, she pops up. And what happens is if your accounting team wants to go in and see accounting specific features, but they don't want to go see what's new from the owner side or from the guest side, they can just click on accounting and go see what pertains new to them. See if you want to use it and play around. This one's an oldie but a goodie. Our company variable settings. We've given you all the power to enable, disable variables and just kind of play around within the sandbox. And it's really underused. You can go in, if you go into tools, it sits in the bottom right-hand side of that page. And you'll see right up top, there's 6, 7, 8 different tabs you can play around with. So for me, I was talking with someone earlier about our owner portal. I said, hey, go into here, go into the owner tab and go even see what's available. What can you turn on? What do you maybe want to turn off? New is our roundtable. So I'll let Kaylin tell you more about.
So the roundtables were actually adopted from our Streamline Summit. If you've been to the summit before, you know that being able to network with the clients is such a huge part to going to the summit. And so what we did was we have a dedicated like few hours of the day where we do roundtables at the summit. So our clients were like, we want to keep this going instead of once a year. So what we did was we will host roundtables once a month so you can come in and network with other managers, and we'll do breakout sessions so you can start learning from other managers, maybe what they're doing, what's working for them. So it's a really awesome networking opportunity. The next thing is webinars. Being a part of the Inhabit ecosystem, we are able to provide you information for all parts of your tech stack, all parts of business. It's a huge benefit to you, right? We're not just diving into the PMS stuff. We're sometimes looking at credit card processing or damage and travel insurance, digital marketing opportunities. With the ecosystem, we're able to collaborate all together. So we do webinars once a month. And these are available for you actually inside of your Streamline system. There's a section that talks about the upcoming webinars, as well as Reagan and the team do send out a newsletter where you can actually sign up for those webinars. But our goal is just to keep providing you with more content And if you liked this webinar today, we would love to continue to do more on this topic. And I think Emily and I can both kind of touch on Streamline University, also known as SLU. Streamline University, it trains your members, right? It's a great learning platform that we've spent many, many years building. Our team is very passionate about dropping new content, about educating our clients. And I think what Emily and I were also talking about when building this was we use Streamline University, right?
Absolutely.
Like internally. And so we really practice what we preach, and we're in there training on these new features just as you are sometimes. And so being able to know like what content is available to you, and that feedback is super important to us. And then I'm going to dive into this a little bit more. Our Rise and Shine breakfast series, it's hard to believe, but this is our second year doing it. We started this and rolled it out last year. And really what it is we understand that there are conferences coming up all the time. And sometimes it's hard to get to those conferences. You're running your day-to-day operations, you're busy, right? And so what we've decided to do is to come to you, come to your market, sit down with your teams and provide number one, free breakfast. So it's a no-brainer. I could eat breakfast for every meal. So I
Same.
know you could too. And what we're going to do is we talk about market updates in your area that are happening across the board, but also specific to your area. We also strategize with your team on revenue opportunities. So we're sharing things with you on how you can optimize your PMS or how you can optimize your marketing and resources. And so there's a lot of content that we're able to deliver to your team. And I know one of my favorite pieces about this as well is I make myself available a few days before the breakfast series event. I come to market and schedule on-site visits. So what that allows us to do is to meet with your team, shadow your operations because you operate so uniquely,
Right.
and we sit down with your team and we start to strategize together. So our next stop is Bend, Oregon. I'll be there. It's next week. We'll also be in Seaside, Oregon, and some upcoming events we're super excited about. So scan the QR code, and if you don't see your destination on there, please message us and we will try to make that happen. I know we're doing like double the events this year.
We are.
So
We have a bunch coming down. We have these right now on the screen till May. We have a ton in the southeast, northeast, also all the way through December. So we just didn't want to overwhelm the screen. So definitely register. You'll see all the places and let us know if you want us to drop by.
yeah, and also too, like we try to plan it on seasonality because we don't want to bombard you with coming when you're super busy. So we try to look at your market and figure out what works best to come to that market. So awesome. And we'll kind of pass this over to Reagan, I guess, to kind of open up things with Q&A. I know we have our contact information. So if you found any of this helpful today, please reach out to us. If you want to strategize or some of those demo videos that we shared on the screen, if you want us to send that to you, we're more than happy to. But we appreciate you joining, and I'm going to pass it over to Reagan.
Okay, we've got quite a few questions that we're going to try and roll through. Pamela gave us a shout out. She said that she loves the webinars and that the more the better. So thank you, Pamela. And
Thank you,
we'll go ahead.
Pamela.
Thank you. That's awesome.
We're going to answer her second question, which is when are the roundtables?
Yeah, roundtables, we try to post once every 6 weeks or so, but it'll show up in the top right hand. Also, same thing, marketing will be pushing out emails. Pamela, maybe we get
We'll get the list.
We'll get a list. Yeah, only because I
Yeah.
don't know off the top of my head. Reagan, if you don't mind making a note. Cool.
Absolutely. Okay, starting from the top, Ashley is asking about restrict availability. Is there a way to have those blocks show on OwnerX portal?
When you say, so yes and no. Yes, you can absolutely show the block as long as you have given your owners the ability to book from that tape chart view. They're going to see the block because you don't want them to be able to book over that. Now, if you've removed that view from them, they're not going to see it in their reservation list. So I just wanted to make sure I said both pieces to that. And I think most folks naturally give their owners the tape chart view. So yeah, they'll be able to see the block.
Good
Cool.
question.
She would also like to know that if a guest waits to sign the stream sign, then they do not qualify for trip insurance, if it'll still allow them to add it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can both touch on it. Yeah, they can still add it on. I think it also depends on and Emily, guide me to make sure I'm answering this right from the way I'm taking the question. But sometimes the guest, they don't want to add it on at the time of booking. So you just have to keep reminding them that this is available. I know a lot of clients too require guests to add this on. So instead of collecting, security deposits, a lot of people are going this route. I would maybe think about requiring them at checkout. That could be a way. But yeah, if it is an optional fee, you can always remind them X days before check-in or when that rental agreement is sent out. Emily, would you add anything to that?
I think Ashley's talking about if they don't qualify based on location. And what will
Gotcha.
happen, Ashley, is if they booked from your website, or as long as you have the guest address and you require that in your system, there will be, like, if you use Rental Guardian, it will literally say does not apply or do not qualify on the Streamline agreement, so they can't accept it. Otherwise, there's too much back and forth and it can be a pain. So we did add that feature. Good question.
Okay, this next one, I'm going to apologize in advance for my pronunciation. I'm going to do my best. From Janae, they're asking if you can include a credit card request for incidentals in the agreement.
Absolutely. What you can do is we have a tag, and essentially it's PCI compliant. You would not be able to use this tag if you don't have Streamline Pro. So I want to be sure to say that first. But they can put all of their credit card details in there. You can make it specific to the incidentals based on how you configure in the back end of Streamline. And then once they submit it, auto will attach to their profile and the reservation itself.
Riexa is asking if there is a way to give an error or not allow it for a signee that is underage for the rental agreement.
Good question.
Yeah, great question. There's not going to be a way in the system where we would be able to see if they're underage, right? They might it could be that they've booked under their parents' credit card. But if you are using, some of the third parties do have like a guest verification where you can triple check the person that signed and like require IDs go with that. So no through Streamline, but yes, through our integration partners. Would you say the same, Kaylin?
Yeah, definitely. There's some ways to identify and flag specific types of guests. So what we'll do is kind of strategize too on our end, Emily, and we can also follow up with you as well.
This is coming from Pamela again. She's asking, how do I get started with StreamShare? Is there a video guide on how to set this up?
There is, yes. There is some content inside of SLU as well as some KBs, but there is also too and if it's not enabled, reach out to us so we can get it enabled for you. But there are actually tools. There's a share area where it will show you companies in StreamShare. It'll show you agents incoming request and my outgoing request. So you'll need to set up a profile and then you can start requesting to connect with other managers. We can send you some information too, Pamela. If there's a area you'd like to start tapping into, let us know. We can help you.
Charla is wanting to know if StreamSign and StreamSign Pro are different. They definitely have StreamSign, but are wondering if they also have access to StreamSign Pro features.
They are different. What we'll do is let's get with you on the side to look at the setup of your company so we can actually like look into the account and see if you have StreamSign Pro already set up. Reagan, do you mind making a note of that too?
Yeah, it is different. StreamSign is your basic, e-signature platform. StreamSign Pro is really just allowing those purchasable amenities to be updated on the folio. And, with that ROI calculator, you can see if it's the worth upgrading to that. But yeah, like Emily said, we'll take a look at your account and we can get with you on the side to see how it would work.
Okay. Bridget is wanting to know if you still get credit card information to store on the reservation if you accept digital wallet payments.
That's an awesome question. So we had feedback prior, and this is newer, that, hey, if someone pays with PayPal, I don't have a credit card to then go auto charge. So what folks have been doing is they'll either say, take PayPal and then you can continue to pay that way, or whichever way that you guys prefer, or you can use that StreamSign credit card to then, as they sign the rental agreement, that's what will pull the card back into the reservation. I hope that answered that.
Support Suite Stays asked if the digital wallet can be used on Happy Stays.
Right now, Happy Stays is just going to be credit cards, e-checks. So if they wanted to do it directly from the app, yet
We can pass that to Lynbrook too
I
and
love,
see. It's a
love
great
that
idea.
idea.
And this is part of how we start developing things, right? Having the ecosystem, you sharing ideas, that's a great idea. But as Emily said, you can add payments, to pay a balance inside of the happy stays.
I just made a note too.
With early check and late checkout, if they book this and the day/after is open, I think this is when we were talking about the availability filler, but then books up and is now back to back, is there automation to do any sort of block to prevent this from happening?
I think I need more information on like an exact situation in order to answer that.
Okay, we can get with Christina.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And we
After
can
the
get
webinar.
awesome. We can get like a live, like an example of what it would look like. So I just want to like try and picture it.
There's a lot of before, after, early,
Yeah.
late. So yeah,
We will
Christina
connect.
will
I
get you on a
promise.
use case. Okay, let's see. Trying to get to some of the more recent ones. Okay, Tracy is asking that she'd love to have someone reach out to her and show her how to enable Airbnb auto payout. And she's also wondering if there's any Rise and Shine events in Texas.
Tracy, we can definitely reach out to you to make sure we get that enabled. And we are planning a visit to Texas. I'd love to hear what part you're in. Texas is, I always laugh because Texas is so big. You could drive for hours. So let me know what part you're in. I've been begging us to go to Texas. We have a lot of clients there. So it's definitely on our list. Just let me know where you're at so we can make that happen.
Pamela also said in all caps, yes to Regina in
Oh,
Texas.
yes,
So we gotta
Galveston.
get to
Yeah.
Texas.
I see Galveston in there. That's a huge market. We have a lot of clients there. Corpus Christi, Galveston, lots of great markets.
All right, let's try and do one more. Okay. This is not a question, just a comment. I think it's good to end on. Yuli said, thank you all for presenting. Very interesting topics and insights. Appreciate all the new features while polishing the existing ones too. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to hear.
Yeah, we
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah. Yeah, and thank you all for joining too. It's been a pleasure. We love connecting with our clients and we're happy to do this again and keep it going. We appreciate you spending the day or the morning or afternoon with us.
Yeah, we would love to do a part two. So let us know.
Thank y'all so much. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. And like we said, if your question didn't get answered, we will answer you via email and the recording will be sent out to everyone who registered, regardless of if they actually attended or not.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Yeah.
you guys.
Okay,
Bye,
thank you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.